with host and founder of New Life Ministries, Stephen Arterburn. New Life Live is dedicated to transforming lives one at a time, thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's Steve.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to New Life Live. We are here today with Dr. Jacqui Mack-Harris. Good to see you, Jacqui.
Hello, Dr. Jill Hubbard.
Hello. So here we are, and we should be joined shortly by Becky Brown, who is going to hopefully lead us along the way. But while we're waiting for Becky to get dialed in here, Jacqui, we are in the midst of Holy Week.
Yes.
Yeah, and so we are talking about Holy Week this year, which I don't know that we've done it to this extent in the past. But you know, we all have our own traditions and things we do, but there was definitely a path that Jesus took, and there were different things in each day that represented his ministry here on earth and what he wanted to leave us with.
Right, and that journey that he took of making sacrifice of himself for us all, and kind of how he shared like the path, like, here we go, he's letting them know it's coming, this is what's going to happen. As I was like reviewing those scriptures in preparation for Palm Sunday and getting ready for Easter, I remember just thinking of how awesome it would have been to be standing around listening to Jesus tell people, I'm about to go away, and I have to do this. This has to happen. And it was hear what I'm saying. I have to go in order for there to be more, right? So I was thinking about the parable about the wheat having to drop to the ground, right? Unless that happens, it's just the one of us, and we need to go out and spread it around. And I think that's what we get to do here at New Life, right? Somebody might plant a seed just by asking a question,
right?
And then we get to explore that question, and that gets to go out into the world,
right? And we don't always understand the deeper meaning of things, right? Just as the disciples didn't understand what he was saying when he was going to destroy the temple, right? Exactly. And raise it up again.
Yes.
Right? I mean, that they didn't understand. They were thinking literally, right?
Yes.
And so often we think, why isn't God doing this thing in our lives, right? Yes. We are thinking literally. And yet God is doing a greater work in us. Yeah. And sometimes that involves our suffering. And we don't like that. It doesn't make sense at all. It's like, God, why would you do it this way? Yeah. But then look at how he did it when he came the first time. No one understood. Why?
No one understood.
Why didn't you come in glory, right?
They thought that was it. He's here, right?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we're going to get to talk to some people who call in today.
Yes. So
and let's see.
Please give us a call here at 1-800-229-3000 today. We're here to answer your calls. We'll be in the studio for a couple of hours. We'd love to talk about your thoughts on Holy Week, or how Jesus is growing you through your hurts and suffering. We love having the opportunity to be with you and to share with you, and we are fellow and gals, fellow sufferers with Christ, along with all of you.
Yes.
So happy to be here today. And looking forward to talking. We've got so many things here to offer. I think about those of you who are Club New Life members and how much we appreciate your support and being part of the family. And that's what we wish for all of you, to be part of the family, to have a sense of belonging here as we journey in this life together. Talk to you soon.
I lost my mother, and then her brother, and then my sister, and then my husband, and then I lost my best friend.
Are you overwhelmed by the intense feelings of grief? shock, denial, anger, guilt, sadness, depression, you're not alone.
When we lose people and there is grief, and then with each subsequent grief or loss that happens, it's a snowball effect.
The New Life Transforming Grief online workshop is Saturday, May 7th. You'll get tools to help you understand and process your grief and a community to travel through the valley with you. Let New Life help you process your loss, begin a journey of acceptance, and learn how to extend the comfort you've received to help others grieve and rebuild their lives too. To register or to find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE, 1-800-639-5433, or online at newlife.com. 1-800-NEW-LIFE. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. I think you can hear me. It's Becky Brown.
Becky.
And
So
I'm
glad to hear you.
Well, I was listening intently to all the wisdom that both of you were giving, but, you know, it just happens sometimes. We just have to pray for technical challenges. But, boy, can you believe we get to do this from all across the country?
I
but
know, that is amazing.
The amazing thing about that whole Olivet discourse is that in this world you will have trouble, but take heart, Christ has overcome the world, and that's what we're celebrating this week during Holy Week, and it's the resurrection. I mean, it's really a profound time in our Christian faith to just reflect back on all the promises that God has fulfilled. But right now, what I'd love to do is take some calls. We're going to take your calls for a couple of hours, 1-800-229-3000. And we are going to start with, let's see, I think it's Livia, and she's calling us from Oak Ridge, Missouri, listens on KHCI. Hi, Livia, how are you, and how can we help you today?
Hi, I need some direction. I have a friend who's been grieving 3 months for her husband. They were married way over 60 years. She let me know soon after he died. We've talked on the phone a few times. I've indicated that I would love to see her, and she tells me that she's not ready for it. She doesn't want me to come by. And I'm very concerned because the only person that she lets to come is her daughter, which good she lets her daughter in. I would, my thought is to just go over with my knitting. She knits. Just sit with her for a little while, and then, when I feel like it's time to leave. I don't want to upset her. I don't know how to handle this. If I should just show up or give her a call or help me out with this.
Well, it's a great question, Livia. It's good to be a good friend. Jill or Jackie, who wants to start, and how would you direct her?
Well, Livia, I love your heart and that you see that she's in a time of really hurting. I mean, she's grieving. 3 months is really, really fresh, especially you're talking 60 plus years, right? And in the 3-month period, depending on when they had the service or if they were able to have a service, there's still a lot of sorting through that's going on. Your friend, and in terms of how she is in terms of her emotional life, and does she tend to be somebody that doesn't want people to see her when she is undone?
Yes.
Okay, so there's some embarrassment about her grief.
And also, I think sometimes when we are grieving or unwell, we don't have the energy to take care of other people. And it does feel like you have to entertain, even though you want to go and just be there for her. That then means she has to be available to you, and she might not have it in her to do that right now.
Even though you don't think that, like, you don't need that. You're not requesting that of her. Right. That may
but
just
it's
come
her
from
home,
her.
and she's the hostess. And for some of us, it's hard to turn that off. It just becomes another thing to do. And she may just really not be up for talking or entertaining right now. And I would personally, if I had a friend say to me, I'm just not ready yet, I would just say, I'm here when you are. And in a few months, I would just shoot her a text and say, hey, I'm thinking of you. I love you. Let me know when it's a good time for us to get together.
Well, I might do it sooner than a few months. I would be calling her regularly, right, and texting her, Livia, and letting her know. And just, is she willing to talk on the phone? Is she willing to text? What level of contact is she willing to?
But the calls are short.
Okay. Then
One
maybe.
time she called just because she needed to hear my voice.
Oh, well,
That was
that's
it.
good. Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe. And do you guys text?
No.
No, not really.
So call.
Okay. So
We could now.
okay. Well, maybe you every so often text her. I'm thinking about you. I'm here if you need to talk.
Yeah.
Right?
Because I think it's
And don't you
it's
think-
great to give her just to honor and validate her request, but also to be available and stay connected. So she can
Right.
have both, right? She can have the respect and her request and her boundary honored, but also the knowledge that you care about her, you're there for her, you're only a phone call away, you want to spend time with her, but it doesn't become something else for her to try to manage.
Well, right. And depending on the level of your friendship, the depth that's there. I mean, I hear what you're saying in terms of sometimes we do need people to just show up and kind of break through our shame. I don't know if you have contact with her daughter, like if you know her, if maybe you...
I don't.
Okay. Because that is often a good way to say, do I need to show up there as her friend?
Is there a way that maybe you could connect with her daughter, or is the relationship not at that level?
I know her daughter's first name. I know she lives across the river in another state.
Okay.
And that's
about it.
That's
yeah.
it.
So another thing would be to maybe drop things off on her porch. Drop off a meal. Can I run errands for you? I know you're in a hard place right now, and it's probably hard to get out. Can I do some things for you?
Yeah, along that line, Jill, I was thinking, Livia, you're going over to do like crocheting just to sit with her, and that's so powerful, even to the point where she reached out to you because she wanted to hear your voice. And sometimes activities, if you say, hey, I'm going to drop by, I went to the store and got thus and such, just to make contact, but you're not staying. There's something about just that eyeball to eyeball connection in that time, and it's just a lot.
good
And I
point,
know that
Becky.
you're concerned for her.
Like even if she'll come to the door and say hi to you and say, I'm not going to come in, I just wanted to, give you a hug.
Yeah, similar to her needing to hear your voice, you might say, I love you so much. I just want to put eyes on you and just see that.
And
you're
I don't
okay,
care.
and
You don't have to have makeup on.
Yeah.
You don't have to have showered.
Yeah.
Right? Kind of disarm her.
Let me see her that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
So say, I just need to give you a hug, or I just want to give you a hug if you're willing.
And I won't stay. I won't stay and take up any time. I just want to see you and hug you. Sometimes when we're grieving, we're exhausted after the 3 months of all the things she's had to do. It can just be really exhausting. And so she may just not have the stamina, the endurance to sit up and be with people. After all the funerals and the repasts and all, right, everyone goes away and you finally get to kind of let down and just have your moments.
Right. Now, for her, though, growth and through her grief, it would be nice if she would let you in, Livia. So another step, if she accepts a hug from you, another time you might offer, do you think that we could sit on your porch and maybe we could just knit, and we don't even have to talk if you don't want to. But could we just sit and knit on your porch?
Because the presence of another person when you're in grief is so powerful. At the same time, you can have other conversations that aren't directly related to the loss, so that she has some sort of an experience of, I'm just the the widower that's, in this pity place, because that's a lot of pressure. It's reality, it's true, but I love what you guys have suggested. And I think, Livia, will send you a copy of the Life Recovery book, Grief Workbook. And I think eventually at some point this would be helpful to her, but it can also give you some insight into how to help your friend as she's going through this. We will all experience grief, and it will have an impact on all of us in a different way. But that's why we developed the Transforming Grief Workshop. That's going to be May 7th online. And so if loss or grief of any kind has been a challenge for you, like what Livia's friend is going through, or maybe it's, there's a lot of loss that people are dealing with that has impacted their life. But we would love to help you at the Transforming Grief Workshop. So I'm glad you called today, Livia.
Well, and I just want to, can I just say another thing?
Go ahead, Jill.
I think when we're helping people through grief, we need to take the pressure off of having to say anything profound. Because a lot of times we say things that aren't where they're at. And it can feel insensitive. So it's more just being with, expressing care and love, that you understand that they're in, a difficult place. And I know at times when I've gone through grief, I've had friends that will just call me up and, maybe share a Bible verse, right? Not that it makes everything go away, but when you're really in grief, sometimes it's even hard to read your Bible, right? So just friends that would leave messages and just read a verse to me. That was just touching.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's very, very helpful. Well, we're going to go to Tosh, I think his name is, and he's calling from New York, listens on WHAZ. Hi, Tosh. How can we help you today?
Pretty good. Yes, Corinth, like the Corinthians. That's us.
Oh, there you go. Paul wrote a letter just to you.
Yeah.
How can we help you today?
Well, my 16-year-old is being a 16-year-old. I'm 15. Probably her birthday's coming up soon. It's a good thing I have the wife, isn't it? But anyway, she used to be involved in the church, and then COVID happened 2 years ago, and then we had to do online church, and because she was doing the after-school stuff. But after 2 years, her faith is drifting, and I'm wondering what I can do to possibly bring her back, or do you think maybe this is a phase?
That's
a great question. All right, Jacqui, you want to start?
Yes. When you say she's drifted away, is she just not interested in going to church, or are there things that she's saying or ways in which she's behaving that are concerning?
A little bit. It's more, like I said, when we were going to church regularly, she did believe in God. Now she questions his existence.
So I would just be open to conversations with her about that. When my girls were young, as my husband and I are in ministry their whole lives, there did hit a time where they started they wanted to challenge things, and we just made room for that. They had questions. Why do Christians treat people this way? Why does the Bible say that? A lot of why do Christians behave the way that they behave, and how is that love? And we just were open to those conversations. God is a big God. He can handle the questions. He can handle the mistrust. And the mistrust was more of the church and of people and experiences that they had or things that people had said or done to them from the church. It made it hard for them as young people to believe what people were saying. But because while they were growing up, we took the stance of read it for yourself. Just because the pastor says it or just because I say it doesn't make it necessarily true. I want you to put your own eyes on it. And so our girls made a choice for Jesus for themselves, but they had lots of questions between the 15 to 20 mark, and they never really fell away from God. They always believed in God, but they didn't always like what the church was doing and saying. It didn't feel like love to them often, and that's what they were pushing back against. And we just talked about your relationship being an individual relationship with Jesus Christ. And we'll work on the fellowship with the church down the road as we mature, but really focusing on who Jesus is and why we love Jesus, why we surrender to Jesus, and giving them permission to be curious and even frustrated sometimes.
So good.
Yeah, Tosh, I like that because I think it sounds like she's about halfway through high school, and that is a time that can be a pivotal time, right, for teenagers. And sometimes they're trying things that don't really fit with their faith, or they're seeing their friends. And especially with COVID, they've been disconnected. And it's so much of the relationships with people in a youth group at church that keep kids in while they're questioning. And so I like the idea. Don't be afraid of their questions. They need to see that you're not freaked out by it, that they can have their doubts, but you're still going to talk. And I like that idea of making the distinction. The church is separate. Doing church Christian things is separate from a heart for Jesus.
For a heart for Jesus.
So where is your heart? What's it,
Yep. And there's a lot going on in the world that is confusing to our youth. And so we really got to be open to these conversations and questions. And when we try to shut it down, that just really turns them off. They are curious. We want them to learn, and all you're getting, get an understanding.
That's awesome. We'll be right back.
It had become very apparent that some of the things I was involved with were taking over my life.
In today's world, men are barraged with inappropriate content and images all day, every day. Some say that certain behaviors are just no big deal. It's just part of being a guy. But it's simply not true. It's a battleground for every man, and the opportunities to fail are everywhere. New Life's Every Man's Battle Workshop can help.
After 7 years, just one weekend, a completely changed man.
For over 20 years, New Life Ministries has been helping men regain their integrity and purity through their one-of-a-kind Every Man's Battle Workshop.
He said, I think this is something that every man should go to. Married, dating, it was definitely life-changing.
Now the workshop is coming to Orange County, California, May 13th to the 15th. Don't wait for him to call. To find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go to newlife.com. 1-800-NEWLIFE.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for 30 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
Your ministry has saved my life.
If you struggle with emotional hurt, family or marriage problems, the pit of depression, or the pain of addictions, we can help.
I'm down 100 pounds now from what I was.
You guys are awesome. You're a blessing to America.
Our treatment programs provide clinically appropriate solutions from licensed professionals, all in the biblical framework.
I have had problems with alcohol. I think God has ordained this place to be His.
You don't have to be a prisoner of your pain. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
She tells me that I'm a new man, and I feel like a new man.
It worked for me, and it can work for them too.
This time it is different.
If you're ready to take the first step toward genuine spiritual and emotional healing, please call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. God can open the door to a better tomorrow right now. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433.
We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We're going to send Tosh a copy of How We Love Our Kids, and I think that'll help. If you are raising kids, it's a challenging time. Not that it hasn't ever been challenging to be a parent, but there are all kinds of complications
new levels
with
of
this.
challenge nowadays.
I agree.
And there's becoming more of a generation gap than there was previously.
Our youth are, I would say, our young millennials, as opposed to elder millennials, Gen Zers, and the new Generation Alpha. They are growing up in a world of trauma.
Yeah,
and
a bizarre world.
Our kids have never not known school shooting drills.
Yeah,
right. And so they're going through things we never experienced, and then add to that 2 years of being isolated away from their friends. And
it's just we're going to have
their sports
studies
like
down the road about all of this.
Yes.
Oh, well, I'm so glad you are here to help, both of you. And New Life's here, too. If you need some help, give us a call. We're taking calls for the next hour, 1-800-229-3000. But right now, we are going to talk to M, who's calling us from Springfield, Massachusetts. Listens on WEZE. Hi, M. How are you today? Hello? Oh, did we lose her?
Oh, I hear something.
Oh, there you are.
Hi, Em.
There you are.
Sorry about that. That's my
That's
radio.
okay. We're glad you're back.
Thanks so
How
much.
can we help you today, Em? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm struggling within myself, especially this particular week, because my compassion and my tolerance is at an all-time low. I'm dealing with some active people. One is a coworker, and one is a neighbor who's very close to my territory, where I live. And my boundaries, I've learned boundaries in Al-Anon. I grew up in a home with active drinking and a lot of chaos. And I'm reacting very irrationally to people that I feel manipulated by. And it's really tormenting me because my serenity and my compassion, it feels like a vacuum, like it's just being taken out of me. And I'm judging very harshly.
Yeah.
So Em, what's a question that we can answer today?
Well, I want to know how I can coexist with people that are in close proximity to me. That I'm feeling a constant boundary challenge.
Okay.
With people that are on either pills or drugs. And I just so happen to have this situation in my life at this time, and I'm asking God, what am I supposed to be learning? And I reacted very harshly to my neighbor. I was very abrupt and very mean to that person.
Okay.
Because they
Em,
knocked on my door with,
Well, let's hear what Jacqui and Jill have to say.
What's the boundary that you feel is being crossed?
The neighbor knocked on my door without calling, which I have some issues with that. And then I told them not to do that anymore, to please call me.
And then you weren't happy with the way that you told them that.
Well, the next day they were asking for money.
Okay.
And I just abruptly said, do not ask me for money. And I didn't, I was just very abrupt and mean. And after the fact, I was kind of tormented with guilt. But if, I know in Al-Anon we call it a disease, and it's very cunning and baffling and, manipulative. And I think what I'm going through is just so, it feels like it's putting me in extremes of reacting.
Yeah.
And
when you feel like you are having a very strong reaction to a current situation, and that maybe it seems, and I don't know this for sure, above and beyond what is warranted for the present situation, it's pretty much a guarantee that you're also reacting to things that have happened before. So that having grown up in an alcoholic family to the point where you've been involved in Al-Anon, right, and have been able to, as an adult, protect yourself, right, remove yourself from the situation. But when it encroaches on where we live and where we work, those are places where you can't easily leave, right? You've got commitments there, and so it can feel really intrusive, and it can feel like you're right back there, where you were growing up and feeling trapped. And so sometimes our reaction is just like, no, not again. You're not going to disrupt my life.
So sometimes we have to be really strong and in our response to those boundary crossings and that disruption of our life. There might be some manipulation. You may have to be listening to your instincts, but at the same time, there is that that old story that's coming back up for you. And so
That's
maybe
right.
when we come back after the break, we can talk a little bit about ways in which we can help you deal with those trauma triggers that sound
Yes.
like are being activated.
That's exactly what I was going to say. We'll be right back. We're going to continue taking calls. 1-800-229-3000. We'll be right back.
For most of my life, I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit it's addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have Christ-centered partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
I was really living a very anxiety-filled life. I turned on New Life, and the topic that day was about anxiety. And just by listening, I got relief.
You can help New Life stay on the air by joining Club New Life today. When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, we'll send you the new member thank you gift of the Life Recovery Bible personal size, the 1-year Life Recovery Prayer Devotional, the New Life Journal, a New Life pen and highlighter, and a New Life zipper tote to hold it all. Plus, there are ongoing benefits like access to the Club New Life video library, the monthly Club New Life CD or download, quarterly resources, free shipping on purchased resources, and discounts on workshops. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. Support Club New Life, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We are talking with Em, who is having a little bit of reactivity because of some changes in her neighborhood and just with some coworkers. Em, I think we get the picture. Jacqui and Joel, do you want to give her some steps about what to do next?
Well, what's coming up for me, is that it might be helpful for you to have someone to talk to. Do you have a therapist?
I do. I do, and I plan to try to get some tools for this.
Mm-hmm.
I might need somebody that's more experienced in 12-step recovery, maybe.
Mm-hmm. And also
like
maybe
Al-Anon.
trauma. Do you feel like some of the traumatic experiences from your childhood are being triggered here by the neighbor banging on the door and asking for money and whatever the things are that's going on at work? Do you feel like it's maybe bringing up some of those old experiences that maybe you could do some trauma work on?
Yeah, absolutely, because I want to shut my door, lock it, and go hide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you know what, you guys, do you ever, I think, you're right to have this fear response. I don't think that you would have no response to something like this. This is a little peculiar to have a neighbor asking for money like this. It's not like you have a good relationship, but I don't know, Jill and Jacqui, if you think, there's some expectation that you would have alarms going off in something that's not right, that may not be related to, you're just not dealing with it right. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
you know
I think
what I'm talking about?
I think that we should make sure that there's a balance, because you want to listen to your instinct. Anxiety isn't all bad; it's our fire alarm. So if there's danger, it's going danger, 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 and then you have your reaction to that. I think the thing that I'm still hearing, is that it's bothersome to you. your reaction is bothering you. So that says to me that you have an awareness that it might be above and beyond what the situation actually calls for. Us not being there, we don't know the neighborhood or the people, but if that's the case, then it's twofold.
Right, because there's lots of ways to say no, right? Yeah. We can say no firmly, but we can say it calmly, right? Yeah. And make it clear. Or we can, as you have characterized yourself, Em, say it more harshly, right? And that's where you're having a stronger reaction. So I think in the therapy, I think it is important to go back and look at the feelings that are so familiar to you so that you can sort out and have better discernment, right? And then with the neighbors, like when you were telling your story, to have a neighbor knock on your door isn't an unusual thing, right? But if they're knocking on your door to ask you for money, well, that's a whole different thing, right? That's very intrusive.
And if there is some experience in your past that knocking on the door triggers, then that's going to be more upsetting to you than it might be to someone else. And that's another thing in therapy. Some of your experience may be able to be validated, and I think that's what Becky is saying is you may be right to feel what you feel and maybe just need to talk that out with someone, and so that you understand, well, while it might have been harsh, it was what was in order in that moment. Right? And so having someone to process through it with can help you discern, when am I actually responding appropriately, even if it's harsh, and when am I maybe over the top and reacting to my own past trauma.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes
that's right. That's good.
It's both,
and we
side
will
by side.
It could be both.
Yeah, it could be both. And so, Em, you've been involved in Al-Anon. I don't know if you still are, but that's been your support system that's gotten you through a lot. So, in addition to therapy, I would say,
if you
continue
don't have a sponsor,
or go back, right?
Maybe reach out.
Yeah, and we'll send her a copy of Take Your Life Back. I think that will help in that journey as well. And, it's okay to be alarmed. You just got to do a little bit more digging. And we're glad you called today. If you need a counselor, stay on the line and we'll find somebody in your area. If you're listening and you need help finding a counselor or a coach, we have a bunch of them across the country in your area. And all you have to do is give us a call, 1-800-NEW-LIFE, and we'll get you connected with somebody in your area. Right now, we're going to connect with the president of New Life, Larry Sonnenberg, who's in the studio. Hi, Larry.
Hey, Becky. Good to be here. How you doing?
I'm doing well. What you got for us today?
Well, we've got Emotional Freedom coming up April 30th. One-day online workshop, and Jacqui's going to be there and part of the leadership of that. And I just want to read a testimony and encourage folks, whatever you're stuck in, whether it's guilt, shame, depression, anything. Procrastination, that's an unusual thing that we don't talk about often. But anyway, here's what, this was a gentleman. He said, I came here dejected about my life and ministry, fearing one day the shoe would drop and others would learn that I was a fraud. That's the entree. What I found was, as was advertised, truth, connection, and transformation. At every turn, truth was added to me, casting light where I had only known a fog. In every session, the sharing brought me out of my isolation and hiding, only to find it unbelievably safe. The result is God is opening me up, and I'm less afraid, less closed, less ashamed. I can get past this. I'm getting past it now. What's better than that? What is better than that? To come in thinking that people are going to learn you're a fraud, and you walk out feeling you had a safe session with people, you shared your heart, your deepest secrets, and the load is lighter. And you've got a plan for how to go forward. And Jacqui, you speak at this.
Yes.
Just a couple words from you of why someone should go. What do they sense?
I think they sense community, that they're not alone. And they sense that there is hope to have emotional freedom. There's a lot to learn, and we don't know what we don't know. And I think coming to the Emotional Freedom Workshop helps people to know some of the things they just didn't know and they felt very alone in. And then the world starts to make a little more sense, and they can start to move forward with hope.
Right, and I think anytime you can melt away somebody's shame, oh my gosh, that is so much freedom.
Yep. Absolutely.
So, Becky, we also...
I know one of the things...
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say one of the things, Steve, is that if you are angry most of the time, you're not emotionally free. Right. And if you think about that, if you're feeling regret or if you're feeling guilt or shame, like you just said, Jill, you're not emotionally free. And we're going to have times in our life where we will get stuck, and we want to give you a process and a pathway and community to get forward in your life. So, if you sign up by, let's see, is it the end of this week? It's $100 off.
Yep.
So we'd love for you to join us.
And if you're thinking about making a donation to New Life, what a better thing to donate to, knowing that people are finding change in life, that God's Holy Spirit is doing a work through what we do here. And we don't get the credit. We work hard to make things happen to get people to that point where God's Spirit can come in and make a difference. And if you could support us in that, we would deeply appreciate it. No gift too big, no gift too small. You can join Club New Life. Help us out if you can. We would appreciate it.
And if you give in April, we're going to say thanks by sending you Laura Manja McDonald's book, The Heart Handbook, the guide to getting back to the basics of love. There's some great scriptures in here. Laura's one of our Restore Workshop speakers, as well as one of our New Life Network counselors, and an amazing woman who has helped so many people. And we just want to say thank you. For a gift of any amount, we'll send you that book. Thanks, Larry.
Thank you.
We're going to go back to the calls, and we're going to talk to Cheryl, who's calling us from Colorado Springs, Colorado. I can't say that today. Listens on KGFT. Hi, Cheryl. How are you, and how can we help you today?
Hi. My husband passed away 4.5 months ago.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I've just been struggling the last couple of weeks with different things, especially, of course, we all want to go to heaven. We can't wait to go to heaven, especially the way the things are going on in this world today. But the devil has been bombarding me with the fact that the only reason I want to go to heaven is so I can see my husband again. And that's not it. I want to see Jesus more than anything. But, of course, I can't wait to see him again, too. But the devil just keeps putting in my mind that, the only reason why you're thinking about heaven is because you can see him again, and you really don't need Jesus.
So Cheryl, we hear your heart breaking. Yeah. What's something that we can do to help you today to lift that load? What's a question that you have for us?
I guess just how to get rid of the devil.
Okay, well, that is a great question. It is a great question. Cheryl, when you have a loss like this, it can be overwhelming. We're going to go to a break, and we'll come back and answer your question. I have one question for you. Was it a sudden loss, or had your husband been sick?
He had had cancer for 8.5 years.
Oh, gosh. So you've been on this journey a while.
Well, it was just the last year, the end of 2020 is when it really started going bad because all of his treatments had stopped working. And then they started chemo, and chemo, I almost think chemo was the worst thing we could have done.
I'm so sorry. Well, Cheryl, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be back and answer some more calls after Cheryl's. You can call us 1-800-229-3000.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn from New Life Live, and Chris Williams and I are doing the Emotional Freedom Workshop. I don't know of anybody that wouldn't benefit from emotional freedom. We're all bound or stuck or struggling in some area. What are we going to do there, Chris?
Just really help people get clarity around the places where they're stuck in their life. They sort of circle the same mountain of disappointment over and over and over again. You're going to be able to see that mountain clearly and get to a new place of what we call emotional freedom, which is simply I can feel in the world, build a relationship to it, and know what to do with my experiences.
The New Life Emotional Freedom Online Workshop is Saturday, April 30th. Steve Arterburn, Chris Williams, and Dr. Jacqui Mack-Harris will present information on trauma, depression, codependency, and more. And small group leaders will help you process the information you learn. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 or register online at newlife.com. Chris Williams on coaching.
Oftentimes I get asked, what is the difference between therapy and coaching? The biggest difference between the two is that a therapist is going to be looking for a diagnosable mental health condition, whereas a coach is going to look at a particular issue and help a person work through that.
If you need a coach, call New Life today and ask about the New Life Coaching Network. Our coaches have been trained and screened with the same intensive process we use for our network counselors.
If you're looking at an issue in your life that you just kind of want to change, whether it be your weight or leadership or other areas of behavioral patterns, check out coaching. There can be some really, really helpful things for you.
Take control of your life and take action to achieve your goals. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 and talk to us about getting a New Life coach. 1-800-NEW-LIFE. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. If you're holding on, please hold on, but we're still taking calls, 1-800-229-3000. But right now we're talking to Cheryl, who just had a loss of her husband about 4.5 months ago, and we hear the pain in your voice, Cheryl. Jacqui and Jill, how do you want to begin to help Cheryl at this point?
Well, and Cheryl, right before the break, you were sharing about the cancer. So really, for the last 8.5 years, you've been kind of on that roller coaster journey of will he survive or not, right? And then we were saying through COVID, then things went downhill. And so it's been a long, long journey for you. And a sad ending, of course, because he's no longer with you. And so even though he's happy and we know he's in a much better place, we're left behind when we lose somebody we love. And I feel sad for you because I feel like you're being robbed of the joy of remembering him and missing him. And for all of us, I mean, we all, conceptually want to go to heaven, but heaven becomes way more real and appealing when you know people there. And so I don't think it's an either or. It's a both and. Yes, we all want to see Jesus, but knowing we have loved ones there, it's like that's all part of it, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And so these doubts, you're right, they're not of God, and they can be really intrusive, and we have to call them out as not of God. Right?
Yeah, because you are not doing anything wrong. You're grieving the loss of your husband. How long were you married?
41 years.
Yeah, you want to see him again in heaven. And the enemy is trying to steal that from you and bring about shame and to make it so you don't feel like you deserve heaven. That is just absolutely not true. And we know you know that. You're saying it. You intellectually you know that. I think you know it in your heart. But how do you make the voice stop? And I think you are going to have to speak against it out loud. You are going to have to call it out and call it the lie that it is. And you get to look forward to seeing your husband in heaven, as well as just the knowledge and understanding that you'll get to see Jesus. Like, that's a given. Seeing your husband is a bonus. And that's the part you're looking forward to, right? So the Jesus piece, that's a given. It's automatic. You've been looking forward for all of these years, right alongside your husband, looking forward to heaven and to seeing Jesus and being with Jesus in eternity. Now there's been a change in your life, and so your focus has shifted, and that is okay.
Let's give Cheryl a couple of steps to move into that healing space.
Sure. What I would do is I would allow yourself to have the memories come of your husband. And if that lie comes up that, oh, you just want to go to heaven so you can see your husband, or the question, do you just want to go to heaven so you can see your husband? Answer it. And answer it out loud and emphatically. No, I want to go to heaven because I want to be with Jesus in eternity. And I want to see my husband in heaven. And that is okay. You have to speak over. Just as, when we were talking about this being Holy Week, right? Mm-hmm. Jesus responds with questions, and Jesus responds with scripture when the enemy comes against him or when the people are challenging him. And I think we have to do the same. We have to be able to speak out, speak scripture against those
and
lies.
Here's the thing, Cheryl, you have to be confident. So that's why, even though we know you know this, we're saying it back to you, because the enemy knows where we have doubts.
Yes.
And if in your grief you're doubting, your motives, well, then he's going to use that. And so I want you to hear us saying your motives are okay. It's okay to want to see your husband. It's okay to miss him. It's okay to also know that you want to see Jesus. But your husband is somebody that you could touch, right? So he's, more concrete in your mind.
And I think we forget that, God said it's not good for man to be alone. We experience God through one another.
Yes.
We heal in relationship, and in being in relationship, I get to experience a little Jesus in Jill, and Jill gets to experience a little in me.
So true.
Right? We talk about being light in the world, and so they get to see Jesus in us. You have been experiencing the love of Christ through the love of your husband for all of these years, and now he's gone, and the enemy is trying to take that away from you.
Right. And along that line, we would want you to be in a grief recovery group, and maybe, Cheryl, that you would join us in the Transforming Grief workshop. It's an online workshop. We don't want you to get stuck in this place, and you do need other people to come around you in this time of grieving and healing. And God's got work for you, Cheryl. I don't know if you have children or friends that, you've kind of pulled away from, but it's really important for you to stay connected to others. And I know it's hard. We already had a call earlier today about the difficulties of grief. And so we understand that, but we think that would be a great plan forward.
Right. To ask the Lord, okay, what do you have for me now, for me to do now? Where should I refocus? Because I've been a caretaker, or I've been a wife. I've been all these things that now have shifted. And so where can I focus? And ask the Lord to help you get out there, because you need some other voices in your life.
Yes.
Cheryl, does that sound helpful? Is any of that hitting home for you?
Yes.
Okay.
And I have.
And are you?
I've been going to our widows gathering at our church.
Good.
And I've got 3 kids. One lives here in Colorado. The other 2 are out of state. But and they're great. But they have they work and they have their kids.
Right.
So
sure.
But they increase a lot. And I've started doing some volunteer work at a ministry here in town too. So
perfect.
Very good.
Perfect. Right? It's like you really have to push yourself to do those things, but it helps.
And don't let the enemy rob you of your energy to do those things that it sounds like you might even really be starting to enjoy with his lies.
Yeah, that's an interesting, I love that, Jacqui, too, because a lot of times in grief, we do have that false guilt because we feel bad for we're moving on. And that's okay. It speaks well of your relationship with your husband that you don't quit your life because his life was gone. And I think a lot of times, in our grief, we feel guilty because we're the survivor. But boy, it speaks volumes of just the resurrection power of God in you to continue to go, to overcome those obstacles. And Cheryl, we'll be praying for you. And hold on, and we'll give you information about the grief workshop. We would love for you to join us, because transforming grief is what we're this Holy Week, right? What we thought was lost, Jesus rose again, and that same power is at work in each of us. And we just, I just think that that's the encouragement for believers, is that yes, we will have trouble, we will, but God has given us a gift in his son Jesus, and he has overcome the world, and it's just it's encouraging.
Right. And in a situation like Cheryl's, that idea of moving on, we don't move on and X out, what has
Right.
happened previously, right? She doesn't move
Right.
on from her husband. He's always a part of her life, but she's moving
Right.
forward and taking next steps because she's still here.
And that is why
That's
he's
right.
still in your thoughts.
Yeah,
Yes.
he'll always be a
Yes.
part of her world.
That's awesome. Well, you guys are always a part of my world. I'm glad you're with us today. And if you're holding on, hold on, and we'll get to your call in just a minute. Thanks so much for listening. If you need any help, give us a call at 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go to newlife.com. We are there for you, and we want you to find that resurrected life.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.
Hi, thank you for watching New Life Live. You know, New Life Live is a Christian counseling program where we deal with the hard questions about life, relationships, kids, free choice, freedom of will, whatever. It's all right there on New Life Live every day, every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. If you want to call into the live broadcast, you can find the schedule on newlife.com or click the social media link right below. You can see every episode of New Life Live on the New Life YouTube channel. Watch it with a friend, watch it later. Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you'll never miss another episode. So if you want to listen on the go, download the app. The link is right below. And I hope if you need some information, if you want to get some help, you'll call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. And I'll see you next time.